Hi everyone, good to see you back again. Today, as we said in our last video, we're going to be talking a bit about what actually happens to us in situations of stress. And you can see up here, it's pretty clear. You've got stress, fight, flight or freeze. And we probably all know about fight, flight or freeze and the response. But this is about understanding what actually happens to our brains and our bodies when we're faced with stressful situations. Because in caveman days, when there was a tiger coming to the cave or whatever, you knew what the threat was. We all know what the threat is at the moment. But we'd also encouraged you to think about, in the last video, what in fact is going on for you at the moment in your life. Because the stresses and the threats that are going on can be lots of different things, like your job, like your home life, obviously the fear of the unknown. There's lots of different things. And why we thought this was really important to highlight is we'll go on to talk about the impact of the stress on us, physically, emotionally,
mentally, psychologically.
Yes,
yeah.
Especially with the thinking.
Yeah.
So that's why we thought it was important to just highlight it, and the fact that this is not our fault. This is what actually happens to us. And this kind of illustrates why we've all responded quite differently to the situation. Although some of us are similar, some of us are also different about it. So we're going to go on to look at what actually happens during fight, flight or freeze.
Okay folks, so a range of different sensations and experiences happen to us whenever we are under threat. As Lisa referred to, the fight, flight or freeze are three different ways that people generally respond, and often we all respond in these ways at different times. It has an effect on the body and on the mind, as we have just said. Things like the dizziness, lightheadedness, the inability to concentrate and focus, forgetting what you started, and you maybe don't get finished things. You start a few different things at the one time and you wonder where you're going with it all, and that can create overwhelm and make you feel like you're not managing and you're not actually in control of what's going on around you in your environment, and that can make things even worse, of course.
And the whole problem-solving thing. I mean, we're finding, here we're faced with a situation where really everything has been pulled from under us, and we're having to look at doing things differently, adapting and all that. And yet what's going on in our brains when we're in this stressed, anxious mode is that we can't actually think clearly and problem solve.
Yeah. And often what can happen is that you think you're okay. And I generally recently I've been thinking, well, I'm not too bad, I'm not okay. And all it takes is for some small thing that I feel sort of that is out of my control, or someone else making a decision for me, can actually throw me right off. And it has nothing to do with that event actually. It's got more to do with the continual, perpetual stress that we're under, because it's around us most of the time. What we're feeling is that our heart's pounding, we might have butterflies in our stomach, our muscles are all tensed up, we might shake and tremble a bit more, with dry mouth, and we're sweating, and we don't feel well, our appetite isn't good, we might have the runs, all sorts of stuff that you can have, physical and emotional stuff really, and we're just really giving you an opportunity to think about, is this some of the things that's going on for me right now?
And I think also that tunnel vision, I know I can get stuck into thinking when I'm in this hyper-aroused mode and I'm really anxious and I'm worrying and my husband's self-isolating and I'm worried about everything being clean and tidy, I can get that tunnel vision. That is all I can think about. So trying to meet the needs of my 17-year-old daughter who wants to have a conversation, thinking about something I've got to have prepared for work the next day, trying to decide what's got to go in for dinner, etc. It's very difficult to think about anything except for that, which is why it's so important for us to look at how can we don't have control over this. This is what happens to our bodies when we're under stress. It's not our fault. We can become angry, impatient, all that emotional stuff that happens. But there is something that we can do about it. There are things that we can do to calm our system down, and it's about looking after our physical health as well, because this impacts on things like high blood pressure, all those kind of things, because you've got adrenaline pumping around your body. So we're just going to finish off with two tips about things that you can do before we check in with you next time.
And that adrenaline running around the body can feel very uncomfortable in relation to the sickness and the heart pounding and the inability to eat. So it's really important that we think about just a few things now that we might be able to do to gain some control and to have a sense of order. Two very simple things that we have talked about that's very important to us is about grounding, being mindfully aware, bringing your attention to where you're at right now, feeling your feet on the ground, and just knowing that you're okay, actually feeling that you're okay in the moment. That mindful attention is very important for grounding yourself. And also physical exercise or physical activity. We're also mindful that if you are self-isolating, or you can't go very far, or you live in a home where there are restrictions around movement and not much space, but there are still things that you can do. You can watch a yoga video. There's lots of really good resources online at the minute on YouTube.
Even armchair, if you've
Yeah.
got physical health, pre-existing conditions that you can't, you've got pain and things like
Yeah.
that, often people say, what can we do?
Yeah. But mindful awareness, grounding yourself, and paying attention to how you're feeling, being very aware, like we talked about in the last video, that awareness actually gives you an opportunity to think, if this is what I feel, what can I do? So the takeaway today is really around having some control, even though it might feel like you're out of control when the stress hits.
And also bringing compassion to yourself and bringing compassion
Absolutely.
to each other, because we're all reacting in different ways. So looking forward to seeing you for the next video.